that these two aspects of reading really need to be approached in very different ways. But they shouldn't necessarily be done at different, grade levels. I think we
Right.
need to realize that we can start building knowledge while kids are acquiring those foundational skills, but it needs to be done in a different way, not as a matter of practicing skills. So yes, with foundational skills, phonemic awareness, phonics, it does make sense to have kids practice those skills to automaticity, not just mastery, because then that is going to free up cognitive capacity for comprehension when they're reading, if they don't have to struggle with the decoding. But the knowledge side, I think what's really crucial, and I think what often gets left out of the discussion, is we can't rely on kids to build knowledge themselves through their own reading when they are still learning to decode and
Right.
really beyond. I mean, it has been found that listening comprehension exceeds reading comprehension on average through about age 13. That's again a finding from back in the 80s. So what that means is that not just when they're still learning to decode, but even for a while afterwards, kids can take in more complex information and vocabulary through listening than through their own reading. And that's why reading aloud from complex text and having discussions, whole class discussions ideally, of those texts is really crucial, so that kids are not limited by their own decoding ability in terms of what knowledge they can acquire. And so through that listening and discussion, what you're doing is you're building kids' vocabulary, their knowledge, their familiarity with complex syntax in ways that will serve them well in years to come. So you're not just trying to build the vocabulary they need to understand what they themselves can read now, or even next year or the year after. Really should be using that read aloud and discussion time to introduce kids to complex vocabulary like, plummeted or foresight, or,
Right.
words that they're not going to find on a third or fourth grade, state reading test, but they will be expected to know those words in years to come. And I have seen first graders, second graders, kids from non-English speaking families, kids from low income families, using those words. They're very happy to know that. They're very proud
Right.
of being able
Yes.
to know those words. It's not just presenting words, because teaching vocabulary in the abstract does not work for a variety of reasons. But if they encounter these words, ideally repeatedly in an engaging context, and then they use them in class discussion so that helps transfer that information to long-term memory, those words will be there to serve them well, down the road when they need them.
Absolutely. And so that idea of listening comprehension, again, that idea of oral language is the foundation of later written language, and being able to not just limit the students to what their instructional level or their independent level, right, as people often talk about with books, which is important to consider if you're asking the students to read a book, but that is not both sides, right, of the rope, or both sides of the equation. And I think, to your point, that we have to consider how we're teaching these skills, and the simple view of reading, or Scarborough's rope, I think may have misled folks a little bit, that they are equal parts or should be taught in an equal fashion.